I'm usually a shoot kind of hip from the lady, and so question number one, I couldn't think of an answer, but question number two is, how did this person get involved in social activism? Two things. Number one, I read Rachel Carlson when I was in junior high, and it changed my life. Number two, I saw the Eyes on the Prize in my undergraduate, like junior level rhetoric of the 1960s, and it absolutely changed my life. When I saw those people getting water hosed, I looked at the camera, or at the video, like the footage from the camera, and I said, I want to do that when I grow up. And I started running social movement positions like critical legal studies, environmental ethic, even totalitarianism good. That was not really a good social movement. And debate, and people would make fun of me. Ironically, years later, that sort of theoretical argument became in vogue, labeled the critique, K-R-I-T-I-K. If you Google it, it's viral. But back in the 80s, it was something people made fun of. So I quit academic debate and got involved in local politics and started running for office. As I was saying before the video cut off and I ran out of video room, that was the linchpin for me getting involved, was local community activism. I've done a little bit of state stuff with the political parties, a little bit of county stuff with the political parties, actually all of the political parties, but I always come back to the local stuff, because and a little bit of school board stuff, but I really love doing municipal politics. And so at this point, any issue in town, you can do a quiz game and I can tell you who to call and what their name is. Next question is, how does this person define social activism or social activist? For me, a social activist is someone who gets involved in a particular issue that the local government or the state government, national government won't get involved in. And usually there's two different vantage points you have to attack. Number one, attitudes, make people aware that it's a problem, because sometimes people don't like it's a problem, or they like that it's a problem. They don't know that it's a problem, or they like the problem, still half asleep. Number two, sometimes you have to change the structural rules. So this could be an ordinance or a policy or a law, or in my case, sometimes getting people elected. Activists should also be proactive. So they should look at the long-term and short-term impacts of whatever they're trying to change. Talk about what the problem is and how it's been bad. Sometimes it's a qualitative problem. It's a value problem, like someone's privacy or liberties being violated. Sometimes it's a quantitative problem. People are impacted in terms of data. So many people are hurt by the electromagnetic waves of a smart meter. That was one of my issues. So it's important to look at the long-term impacts of your actions as well as the short-term impacts. So whenever I have a protest, I've canceled one protest because somebody showed up to City Hall and scared the city secretary. And it wasn't one of my people, but just to make sure over the long term I had credibility, and in the short term no one was hurt, I canceled the protest. It's very important for people to be principled when they're activists and think about, you're an example. Just like a role model, someone who's an elected official, the same holds true for an activist. That's why I have a very high standard on what people do and what kind of activism they engage in, that they don't violate other people's rights, and that they look for the good of the whole. As far as the challenges and rewards of environmental activism, there are a couple. The challenges are you don't make any money. So to answer one of your other questions, no, I don't get paid. And it also takes a lot of time, and sometimes you get really super frustrated because A, people don't get involved, or they're tired of hearing you squawk about it, or B, you can't make a change. But on the flip-flop, if you keep plugging away, everywhere you go, people go, hey, thanks for what you're doing. I really appreciate that. You're inspiring me. And you can change ordinances or help get people elected or stop things. One of my favorite ever movements was when we had the largest protest in the history of the city of San Marcos, and we stopped the mandatory microchipping ordinance. We actually overturned an ordinance that was passed. Also got a go around for the what's that called? The smart meter opt-out program. They implemented smart meters here in town, and because of my concerns of the health implications, they allowed us to have opt-out. I'm probably the only one in town that's opted out, but hey, I got my way for once. There's two other ordinances I got passed recently dealing with mold, and we could talk about those a little bit more later. The next question we had was, do you get paid for this? No, I don't get paid. Some people do, and that's my concern with some organizations like the United Way, or I don't know, where they have like high administrative costs. I'm literally sometimes an army of one, and that's really all it takes, is one person who's devoted to one issue and able to galvanize. Ironically, as a political candidate, I'm not very good at creating an organizational structure, but as an environmental activist, I'm really good at getting hundreds of people mobilized to show up on one day. That might be risky. It's a small town, and sometimes people don't want to get involved. So Anyway, no, I don't get paid, but the payoff is, you know, God knows I'm doing good and people thank me for what I'm doing. It inspires other people. One example is right now in town, people are making lots of videos. Brian Olson, who's dealing with the issue on the dam, it's a historic issue, an environmental issue, he's pumping out videos. Some of the political candidates like Sam Brannon were pumping out videos. There are people who now, downtown people like Samantha, like city staff people who make really cool, funny videos. And I've been doing video blogging since 2009, well 2008, and then pretty seriously as a news reporter, investigative journalist since 2009. I reinvented myself the day after I lost a run-up in 2009 to be a investigative journalist. And now lots of other people are doing videos, so that's kind of cool. So not only can you change policy, but you can change communication mediums. Right now I'm working on some comics as well as stickers as another form of PR. Okay, your next question is, what is the government's role in making available social programs? First of all, I'm a fiscal conservative, so I don't like all these silly programs. Like I had real issue with the pre-K program because it cost me money as a taxpayer, and it actually gentrified a neighborhood and it killed a bunch of trees. I'm for social programs like teaching kids how to mix videos, teaching kids how to create music and spoken word, visual artists, cool stuff like that, so they can deconstruct oppression and move from spaces of liberatory deconstruction. I'm also for opening up spaces for activists to have seats at the table. A lot of times social programs are made of special committees, favorites in town, or I don't know, people with financial interests, special interests, and oftentimes it's important to have everybody available to have their voice heard. All the ideas can be galvanized into a more holistic vision for a community or a state project. Oftentimes, there are also special interests with contractors and consultants, and I have concerns of those. So I would like to open up public funding and more oversight for that, more creative use of funding. Oftentimes when there's a problem, people try to solve the problem. They make the problem worse because they don't look at the causes of the problem and what the impacts of their policy will be. And so, and you know, sometimes it's good to study the problem, but sometimes we spend way too much money studying problems. And that's what happens on the municipal level with consultants and studies, when oftentimes residents know what's best for their neighborhood. So they'll open up a project to talk about a road construction project, but everybody knows it's going to increase specter of eminent domain, or it's going to ruin people's quality of life because it's going to take 2 years for it to occur, or maybe a housing development's going to ruin the quality of life because now, you know, you're not going to be able to see the starlight. You're going to have lights blaring and kids screaming in the issue of my town. Okay, now I'm rambling. The coffee's starting to kick in. So, how do I see the world in the next 50 years? Well, that's a good one. Number one, we're going to run out of water. Number two, we're going to have sinkholes because people can't stop development. When you develop over an aquifer in an area where there's caves and you put gravel, concrete over areas where the water used to go, you create spots where the water finds one spot to go, and that creates a sinkhole. So I'm looking at droughts, sinkholes, as well as lack of water, which is pretty ironic. Flooding is going to happen in the future, and there's going to be more diseases as things come out with the medications that people are being given and all the genetically modified organisms. That's what I see. But I also see lots of really cool social media things happening, things we can't even imagine how people are going to connect on the internet, or different forms of digital technology, as well as social media. So in lockstep with all the specters of technology and human growth, we'll probably have a lot of really super cool indigo kids come out and do some really neat things. And there'll probably be some really cool leaders emerge. That's last question is, what do I think? Anything else I would want to say? The last thing I would say is that every person can make a difference. And I spend pretty much every lick of free time doing environmental activism or activism in my neighborhood. And I would encourage other people to do the same. Get off, spend 1 week. I'm on year 2 of a fast of no international, national news, no TV shows, nor movies. Take 1 week, people. Don't watch any TV. If you want to watch anything, you got to break down, watch a Madonna music video or something, okay? Watch a music video. It's positive. Don't watch any news. And spend that 1 week connecting with people one-to-one, finding out what their issues are, and creating a local issue. That would be my challenge to your readers. Peace out.